At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Los Angeles Dodgers. Friday Night Baseball is presented by Jeep. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep, now celebrating its 75th anniversary. By Citi, learn about Citi perks at Mets.com/Citi. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. By National Car Rental, go national, go like a pro. And by the State Farm agent of the game, Pat Cawley of Glendale, New York. Contact Pat at patcawley.org. Well, the Mets are back in town after winning a series in Washington earlier in the week. Fans of all ages are gathered for a big weekend at Citi Field as the Mets of the future celebrate the Mets of the past. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a three-game weekend series against the Los Angeles Dodgers as the Mets celebrate the 30th anniversary of their last World Championship in 1986. Plenty more on that later. Tonight, a piece of the future goes to the mound for the Los Angeles Dodgers. 19-year-old Julio Urias, arguably the best pitching prospect in baseball, becomes the rare teenager to start in the majors.
You know, in baseball, we have such a fascination with teenagers who can get grown men out, and that's what they're expecting from Urias. What's great about him is that his numbers are great in AAA, but the Dodgers have always had some great teenagers. Koufax and Drysdale came up with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and of course Fernando Mania in 1981 with the Dodgers. Urias is trying to make his own mania.
From the same part of Mexico as Fernando Valenzuela, who debuted 35 years ago. Meanwhile, the Mets still trying to figure out their first base situation with Lucas Duda out for the long term with some back issues. Wilmer Flores was eligible to come off the DL tonight. He is not. He's going to stay on rehab, and Eric Campbell remains at first.
Well, I think they're going to take it very carefully with Wilmer Flores. They don't want him re-injuring that hamstring. He is going to get the lion's share of first base, Gary, when he comes back. And Terry Collins has stated that Conforto is not going to be on the list to play first base. And I agree for only one reason. It's easier to make the transition if you're an infielder because you've had ground balls. If you're an outfielder, you've got to learn not only the footwork at first base, but you've also got to learn ground balls. So I think that's something that Conforto can do in the offseason. As of now, Wilmer Flores, when he comes back, and I think it will be shortly, he'll be the man.
Or as Terry Collins said so poignantly tonight, it's not like high school where you put the fat kid at first base. Meanwhile, on the mound tonight is Jacob deGrom, and after a month of April where despite fits and starts he was very successful, May he has struggled a little bit.
Yeah, he has. He was very good in April. He's really struggled in May. His ERA 4.5, but he can remember the great start he had, one of his best starts this year in Los Angeles against the Dodgers.
So it's the Mets and Dodgers opening up a weekend series in celebration of the 1986 champions. Mets and Dodgers, all the action coming your way on SNY. by Jeep, now celebrating its 75th anniversary, a lifetime of freedom in a world of adventure. Get to Citi Field Saturday, June 18th. Watch the Mets take on the Braves at 8:15. Multi-platinum pop artist Andy Grammer will perform following the game as part of the Mets post-game concert series presented by Budweiser. Admission to the concert is included in the price of the game ticket. For tickets, visit Mets.com/concerts. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Tonight is Yoenis Cespedes' 100th game with the Mets. He's only the 12th player in Major League history to hit as many as 32 home runs in his first 100 games with the team. We'll see if he can add to that tonight against the 19-year-old phenom from Mexico, Julio Urias, ready to make his big league debut. Mets and Dodgers, first pitch is coming right up. There's the Dodgers starting lineup brought to you by Hyundai. Chase Utley has already received one vociferous round of boos from the Citi Field crowd when his name was introduced with the starting lineups. No Trace Thompson has been red hot in that Dodger lineup tonight. Howie Kendrick gets the start in left field. Dodgers have won 4 games in a row. Just came off a sweep of the Reds at Dodger Stadium. And there is Chase Utley awaiting whatever befalls him.
Oh, he's already gotten it.
He's going to get it again.
Well, this is the first time he will have played in a game at Citi Field since he broke Tejada's leg. He was here for games 3 and 4 of the LDS last year, but never got in the game.
Yes.
Didn't mean he didn't hear plenty of reaction anyway. Every time he was within proximity.
Introduced before the game, right? Well, Jacob deGrom is going to try to get it going. His last 4 starts, the Mets are 1-3 in those starts. But I was talking about that outing he had in Los Angeles. One of his best, 7 innings, only 2 earned runs. See his Land Rover numbers for the year.
Quick look at the defense for your Mets. Brought to you by Lexus. 8th start in left field for Cespedes. He's been playing mainly in center. David Wright in there. Eric Cramble, we talked in the open. He's going to play first base. We'll see how soon, Milwaukee behind the plate, how soon it will be before Flores comes back.
You know, Flores is 2 for 11, so it's not like he's styling down there. So they probably want to get him a little hot.
Jacob deGrom making his 8th start of the year. Last time out in Milwaukee, 100 pitches in 5 innings, and gave up 4 runs, 5 hits against the Brewers here at Citi Field. Mets have won 5 of their last 6. They trail the Nats by a full game in the National League East. And here comes Utley.
Season ticket holders since 2014. Let's play ball. Let's go Mets.
Leading off the game for the Los Angeles Dodgers, the second baseman, number 26, Chase Utley.
Chase was quoted in the Los Angeles papers as saying he still expects the Mets to retaliate at some point. That did not happen in a 4-game series in LA. DeGrom's first pitch of the night is up and away, ball 1, and we're underway.
And I would tell the Met fans, don't hold your breath on that one. It's not happening.
Utley having a terrific start to his year. He is reconstituted as a leadoff hitter. He had only led off 11 times in his career before this year, but it's the 36th game he's led off this year, and he's responded with a .379 on base percentage.
He's always had a great eye at the plate, Gary, and a tough strikeout.
And he yanks one foul, and it's 2-1.
Well, you know about retaliating, Gary. You mentioned, and I'll say it briefly. I was of the opinion, and I texted Ron and you guys during the game, that after Murph's little gander at the home run off Harvey, I wouldn't have been kind of a guy that would say drill him the first time up, put one in his ribs the next day. Set the tone.
And fastball from DeGrom at 96. We've not seen that number very often from Jake this year.
This is a little bigger Friday here, getting into May. 8th start for DeGrom.
His velocity was up in the last start against Milwaukee. His command wasn't, but he was averaging 93.5. And the backdoor curveball misses 3-2.
And I must say, and Ronnie, you'll agree with me, I'm sure, it's something when the Dodgers come to town, okay, and play the Mets. It gets you going.
Especially on a weekend, and especially with the 86 celebration in the offing. Utley grounds one foul, but another 96 from DeGrom. And for Jake, who's averaged, I think it's 92.7 on his fastball this year, and has been waiting for the velocity to return, it's a good sign early in the game. Corey Seager on deck, then Justin Turner. 7th pitch of this opening at bat to Utley. And it's too high, and Utley's on with a walk. Only the 12th walk given up by DeGrom in 41 innings this year.
And the one thing I've seen about DeGrom so far this year, Ron, is that where last year and the year before, he was always at the knees. He's been up with his pitches a lot this year. Hasn't been able to bring bring the target down in that knee-high area.
Not only the knees, but outside corner on both sides he could hit.
Now Corey Seager, the rookie shortstop, just 22 years old, hitting at .263. And he's beaten on that high fastball, 0-1.
That was just looking plain inside, trying to hit a home run first pitch. And not identifying that the pitch was outside and not one to do that with.
Going into the season, Corey Seager was certainly mentioned as a prime candidate for National League Rookie of the Year. There have been a couple of surprise candidates early this season. Trevor Story in Colorado and Ledmus Diaz in St. Louis. But the other prime candidate sitting in the Mets dugout, Steven Matz, we hope to have him join us during the game tonight. Here's the 1-1 coming. And it's in for a strike. 1-2.
Well, that was paint with the backdoor slider. Good pitch.
Here's another youngster here, Seager, another 6'4". They're all, it's like generational now. Everybody's so tall in this game.
Well, especially for a shortstop. And you wonder whether eventually his position will have to change.
Ernie Banks was around 6'2", was he not? And he was considered a very tall and lanky shortstop for the 50s and 60s, early 60s.
And then Cal Ripken changed the dynamic even more so. Milwaukee's setting up outside. That's a little bit high, 2-2.
He's rushing it up there, Ron. He got good heat.
That might have been the only time he was trying to throw that ball up, because the first pitch was up.
Utley at first and nobody out. And Seager fouls back the fastball.
I would try, if I was, I'm sure he is, DeGrom and his sides. I would try to really rediscover that knee-high strike. Really work hard at getting it down. He's so effective at the knees.
A lot of pitches to the first two hitters for DeGrom. 2-2 to Seager. He comes inside with the fastball, full count. So second straight full count for Jake to start his night.
Well, we'll see if they send him running here.
Not a seat to be had anywhere tonight.
32 strikeouts and 186 at bats.
Utley's running. Seager takes strike three called, and the throw by Plawecki, and plenty of time for the strike him out, throw him out double play. 3-2 slider gets Seager, and Utley was a dead duck.
Well, one thing Plawecki does, look how he doesn't overthrow this ball, because Utley's out by a country mile. But he does get rid of the ball quickly, and I don't know, I mean, it's easy up here, but that ball looked like it split the middle of the plate. I know it was a breaking ball, but Seager just did, he's got to make contact there on a strike.
Non-confrontational slide by Utley there.
Well, he played by the letter of the rule. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Justin Turner. Turner's been turning up a little bit of the power lately. He's hit a couple of home runs in the last week, but it's been an oddly unproductive beginning to the season for Justin after the big year he put together last year for the Dodgers.
And really, Justin's a very fine player, but he's not a number 3 hitter in the lineup. So this is indicative of the Dodgers in need of a real third hitter.
Turner had the great league division series against the Mets, went 10 for 19 in that series, and was hitting DeGrom all over the place.
Well, here's Plawecki right here. Now he sees, you see him look and glance. He's got plenty of time. Look at his feet. Doesn't overthrow it. Just throws a little soft one there. Plenty of time.
Plawecki's got a nice release, but when you watch Rene Rivera throw,
Yeah,
it's like a different animal.
yeah, Rivera really impressive. Threw out a runner the other day, the rubber match in Washington.
Adrian Gonzalez would be next. Two to Turner. Struck him out. Fine start for DeGrom. A couple of strikeouts after a leadoff walk. And now the 19-year-old Julio Urias will go to the mound to make his big league debut. Well, 36 years after Fernando Valenzuela, lefty from Mexico, made his debut for the Dodgers at age 19, Julio Urias makes his big league debut. His family is here from Culiacan down in Mexico to be part of this moment.
Wow.
First pitch to Curtis Granderson is up and in. Granderson hitless in his last 8 at-bats, has slipped back below 200 for the year. Seems every time he gets a couple of good games going, he just can't sustain it. He drills this one down the line toward the corner. Foul.
Well, Curtis has been kind of an enigma this year. Really, we're almost out of May now, for crying out loud. It's 27th of May, and he's on the interstate. And this is what happened last year. But I really think last year's bad start was worse than this year's. Don't you feel that, Ronnie?
Yeah, because
I don't feel he's far away, but he's hitting 199.
He is hitting home runs.
Yes.
8 home runs in less than a third of a season. He's not walking nearly as much as he did last year.
Urias, when you watch him pitch, he's got a good fastball, reaches about 95. He's got a kind of a slurvish slider. He's got a little bit more break than a slider.
They say he's very, very mature and composed, ahead of his 19 years of age.
His last 27 innings at AAA, he did not allow a run, and pitched to a 1.10 ERA over his 8 appearances at Oklahoma City.
Signed at 16 years of age by Logan White, who signed Kershaw, I believe.
3-2 to Granderson, and he grounds one foul. Well, the way they signed him is interesting because they sent the scout to Mexico to watch a tournament because they were scouting Yasiel Puig.
Right.
And they happened to see Urias pitching in the same tournament, and they loved what they saw.
He was 15 at the time. In fact, they had to wait till he turned 16.
Those Dodgers, they can find him down there, huh?
7th pitch to Granderson, and it's in there for a high strike 3.
Oh, he got
and Bellino calling the high strike on Granderson for the first out. Urias has a strikeout to start his career.
Grandal took this ball and threw it into the dugout for the Dodgers. Big expectations for this left-hander. That's ball's up.
It's not a strike.
Let's see if it hit the corner. It did. You know what? In today's game, it's not. I agree, but to me, it's always in the rule book. Letters and knees.
Good to see Asdrubal Cabrera back in the lineup. He had to be scratched late on Wednesday in Washington because his back seized up. But he said after that game he'd be okay for tonight, and sure enough, he is. Cabrera riding a hot streak. He's hit in 7 straight games.
He has had himself a really nice first 2 months of the season. Solid in the field. Nice player.
Hitting .310 as a right-hand batter.
You know, part of Urias' maturity comes from his dad was on the national team. He was hanging out, working out with them at 10 years old. So he's been around good baseball his whole life.
Nice crowd. We love it.
And a 2-0 curveball in for a strike. So you've seen the slider. There's the curve.
And Dan Bellino, the home plate umpire, has a pitcher's strike zone, RJ. Folks, that's Ronnie I'm talking to.
You mean Ronald Jr.? In the air down the left field line toward the corner, and it's in for a base hit. Hopping up against the wall. And Cabrera pulls in at second base with a 1-out double.
Boy, Kendrick out in left field just took a bad beat on this ball like he didn't see it.
Well, Howie Kendrick, an infielder, being asked to play the outfield some this year for the first time.
Looked like he was at sea there.
Odd-looking hit, wasn't it? He didn't get anything close to all of that ball.
Well, he got jammed a little bit, that fastball up and in.
10th double of the year for Cabrera. Now has an 8-game hitting streak. And here is David Wright, who has homered in each of his last 2 games. That's looking to cash one early against this incredibly young lefty. I'll tell you how young Urias is. Yeah. They asked him, did your dad tell you stories about Fernando Valenzuela? He said no. My grandfather did.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You're celebrating the '86 team this weekend. He wasn't born until '96.
10 years after. Alvin Lee.
There you go, Garrett.
Going home.
And the curveball misses to right, ball one. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Against the lefty, Conforto sits. Lagares in center field. Campbell gets another start at first. Everyday Eric. That's come from D.C. where they won 2 of 3. Trying to keep it going against the Dodgers. And I would think there's got to be a little more urgency at the beginning of any series that you know is going to end with Clayton Kershaw on Sunday night.
I would think so. You want to win the first one.
Maybe the first and second.
Like any other series. Even if you got Molly Puts out there in the third game, you got to win the first one.
What kind of stuff did Molly have?
Oh, big hammer.
Notice he took a little off that too. He changes speeds on his breaking ball. He will add on his fastball. That's what you're talking about when they mention that he's quite polished, Keith.
Out back door, taking a little off on the outside corner. Very nice.
One and two to right with Cespedes waiting on deck. Cabrera at second and 1 out.
Whoa!
That sails to the backstop, and that'll get Cabrera to third. A very wild pitch from Julio Urias.
Very pumped up. As was his fastball.
Overpumped.
Yeah, tried to overthrow that one, but Grandal left his feet to try to get that one.
See how the Dodgers are going to play their infield here.
Interesting early. They want to bring the infield in. Wow. Okay. This early in the Wago.
Maybe because there are 2 strikes on the hitter. And Wright goes down swinging for the second out. 54th time David's been struck out this year, and a big one for Urias. 2 men down.
Well, the train left the station. David way tardy on that one.
So that'll leave it to Cespedes. As we mentioned earlier, Yoenis playing his 100th game as a Met tonight. He has hit more home runs, had more extra base hits, and more RBIs in his first 99 games as a Met than any Met ever.
He's good. Don't you think, Gary?
I would say that right now he's one of the best players in baseball.
I would have to agree with you. We haven't seen much of the American League, but what we've seen so far, he's on the starting team.
And the curveball sits high.
And there's your Coors Light Dodger defense. Kendrick playing only his 9th game in left field. He's normally at second base, but Utley has taken that position from him a little bit. He's been playing so well. Grandal behind the plate.
Cespedes fouls it off. I don't think it's a surprise to see Cespedes leading the league in homers, leading the league in RBI, slugging percentage. What's surprising is he's hitting .301, and he's got a .378 on base percentage.
What's more surprising is that he has learned to lay off, at least this year so far, the first 2 months, lay off the high fast one. And he finds a way to fight off and get a piece of that slider down and away and stay in the at bat.
Cabrera at third and 2 out. And Urias overthrowing frequently on that fastball. 2-1.
No, I'd be very careful if I was this young 19-year-old to throw any breaking ball to Cespedes. And you leave it over the middle of the plate, you'll be rubbing up a new one.
Cespedes 28 at bats against lefties this year, 4 home runs. And now it's 3-1. Neil Walker on deck.
My feeling here is that don't let this guy hurt you. Ronnie, you agree?
I would, but he's 19 years old. Does he even, cross his mind? If not, Grandal should help him.
Grandal sets up away. And he misses away for ball 4. So Urias, better part of discretion there, walking Cespedes, and now Neil Walker will come up with runners at the corners. And that's, we talked about the higher on base percentage for Cespedes. Part of it is because he's more selective. Part of it is because as his numbers grow, you have to be a little more wary about pitching to him.
Well, I think that getting and keeping Walker hot is a big key at this time in the season, because if you're standing out there on the mound, and Walker's been outstanding from the right side, but he certainly isn't the threat that Cespedes is.
And that's been the most surprising part of Walker's season. Amazingly consistent player, but his right-hand hitting has taken a huge leap forward. Hitting .313 from the right side with 4 of his 11 home runs.
Well, regardless of what happens this inning with this young man for his first full inning in the major leagues, I think he's performing admirably. He's not wild all over the place. He has an idea out there what he wants to do.
The only issue is another pitcher facing the Mets has had his pitch count jump in the first inning, and it means a lot when you're talking about Urias, because he's a guy that is definitely on a pitch count and inning count.
Yep. Never threw more than 89 pitches in any minor league start in his career. Never threw more than 6 innings in any start.
And the Dodgers are not committed to him staying in the rotation or even staying up. He's just taken Alex Wood's start.
Well, he only threw 80 innings last year, so he's going to be capped at a very low number of innings.
Like 115, 120.
So they might keep him around in the bullpen, but he's not going to be in the rotation the rest of the year, that's for sure. 1-1 to Walker, and it's below the knees, 2-1. The last teenager to debut as a starter in the major leagues on the mound was Felix Hernandez 11 years ago as a 19-year-old with Seattle.
That worked out pretty good.
Yeah. He's only the king. Walker pops one foul, and that'll go out of play.
Well, Urias comes up from AAA, where he was a sparkling 4-1 with an ERA of 1.10. And he brings with him already, Gary, 41 innings pitched from AAA.
So you figure maybe he'll throw another 70 or 80 innings this year, not a whole lot more than that.
One thing you've noticed in this inning, though, for a young guy, he's not afraid of his fastball. He's used it a lot.
25 pitches deep in this first inning, 1st and 3rd and 2 out. And Walker gets on the curveball and pulls it into the left field corner. That's down for an extra base hit. Cabrera is in. Cespedes will be held at 3rd. A run-scoring double for Neil Walker gets the Mets on the board early. It's 1-0 New York. And Neil Walker continues his long-awaited barrage as a right-hand batter.
Well, breaking ball, he wanted it away. Took something off and got it down and in. A little over the plate. Walker stays back. Cabrera can just low right at home. Cespedes is busting, and just well played by Kendrick prevents him from scoring.
So a run home, now 2 in scoring position for Juan Lagares, getting the start in center field, batting 6th. Juan hitting .306 against left-hand pitching this year. And takes the fastball on the corner.
.282 in his career as Lagares against left-handed pitching.
Cespedes at 3rd, Walker at 2nd. Urias already 27 pitches deep into the first inning of his big league career. Comes inside to Lagares, a ball and a strike.
Well, there's the breaking ball. You can see the spin, the rotation. It's off speed. Stayed back beautifully.
One to Lagares. And he lines one toward the middle of the diamond. Seager can't get it. Base hit. Cespedes is in. Walker right behind him. Juan Lagares with a 2-run single. And the Mets have put up a 3 spot in the opening inning.
Changeup. I thought he gave it away with his motion. He slowed down his arm just out of the reach of Seager. And all 3 runs, 2 out RBIs.
So the Mets, who came into the night hitting 159 as a team with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, cash a couple. And Rick Honeycutt pays an early visit to his phenom.
Maybe it's better they face a guy that they don't know instead of all the videotape and everyone they do know. Just pure athleticism against this youngster.
The last time a Dodgers starter this young took the mound was 1963. A kid named Dick Kalmus, as a 19-year-old, made his first and only start as a Dodger. In fact, Kalmus wound up making only one more start in his major league career. Dodger bullpen is going to get cranking early. Chris Hatcher gets up. Here's Kevin Plawecki trying to snap out of an 0 for 17 spell. Batting with Lagares at first and 2 out with 3 runs already home. And Urias is purported to have an outstanding move.
That was just a show me move. He's got an unbelievable move. Wally Backman was saying he found out about the move, told his troops, he picked off 2.
I guess they weren't listening.
So the Mets are putting a little pressure on him. And, you know, getting back, Ronnie mentioned in the open about Dodger pitchers coming up at 19. Koufax in 55, Drysdale in 56, Joe Moeller in 62.
Moeller was a reliever for most of his career. Taken the other way, and it's a base hit for Plawecki. Lagares will pull in at second against Puig's powerful arm. So Plawecki snaps that 0 for 17 streak with the Mets' 4th hit of the inning.
Well, they are treating this youngster rudely here. Welcome to the big leagues.
Utley was shading Plawecki up the middle, so couldn't get to that humpback liner to right.
You know, Ronnie, not only are they watching Urias's total pitches, but also in the minor leagues for pitchers this young, they often cap any single inning around 35.
That's the number. You're right.
They may not let him go much further than one more batter if he can't get Campbell out. And Campbell takes inside. Campbell starting for the 14th time in the last 18 games. He's been a mainstay in the Mets lineup lately. Looking to put the hammer down for New York here in the opening inning. 2 on and 2 out. And Urias misses low, 2-0.
See how Urias stops after every pitch. He thinks those are strikes, and he's not getting them. Frustrating for anyone, especially for a 19-year-old.
He's behind Campbell 2-0, and Eric unloads and fouls it back 2-1. Well, his family were elated when he struck out Granderson to start the game, showing a lot of concern.
Well, they're just hoping he can get out of this inning.
It's only a game.
Is that how you felt?
It's been a rude baptism. 35th pitch of the inning upcoming. And Campbell pops it up. Grandal hoping for a play, but that'll be back in the seats. 2-2.
Well, he's pitching the right-handers in, Ron, predominantly.
He's gotten beat with his 3rd and 4th pitch. Breaking ball and the changeup gave the base hits up on.
That's the new skipper we just saw there, Dave Roberts of the Dodgers.
He's already had to take a young pitcher out who's thrown a no-hitter. He might have to take one of their best young pitchers ever out of the game in the 1st inning.
It's Ross Stripling, who is back in the minor leagues now.
Yes, he is. 2-3 with a 4.53 earned run average, 8 starts. He's down.
2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Campbell. And he lines one left field. Kendrick coming on, and that retires the side. But the Mets put together 4 hits and score 3 runs. A rude greeting to the big leagues for Julio Urias. Walker drives the run with a double. Lagares 2 more. And the Mets lead 3-0 after 1. Clock. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a 1986 replica World Championship ring presented by H.L. Gross and Brothers Jewelers. After the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/1986.
Looks like the one I have, Ron.
Here's your city probables for the remainder of the series. Noah Syndergaard and Kenta Maeda tomorrow night. Bartolo Colon and Clayton Kershaw Sunday night. We'll see you Monday. Got the ring here. That's actually a very nice replica ring.
I think so. Size 12.
It's too big for my finger. Adrian Gonzalez leads off the second. Jacob deGrom staked to a 3-run lead, and Julio Urias has learned a little bit about life in the big leagues.
That's Rick Honeycutt, the longtime Dodger pitching coach.
Walker playing in shallow right. Campbell gets back to the bag, and it's a 4-3 putout on Gonzalez.
That was a good decision by Campbell because he really wanted to go for that, realized he couldn't, and hustled back.
And also Walker took his time.
Yeah.
Gave Campbell the slow-footed Gonzalez, gave Campbell plenty of time to get back to the bag.
It's a big out for deGrom because Gonzalez has owned him. 5 for 10 with 2 home runs going into that at bat. Here's Howie Kendrick. Kendrick's bat has perked up a little bit lately. And he takes a strike from deGrom. We saw Jake firing 95-96 in the first inning. And this is with the slider to Kendrick, and it's 2-1. In 4 starts in May, deGrom is 0-1 with a 4.63 ERA. How good has deGrom been in his career? Well, it's the first time he's got 4 straight starts without winning since he began his career 0-4.
That's right. His ERA at Citi Field in his career is under 2.
On the corner, strike 3 call. 96 on the block gets Kendrick for deGrom's 3rd strikeout.
That's the pitch you're talking about, Keith.
Most importantly, not so much of the black, Gare. Knees. Very nice. That's the pitch that deGrom. You paint that outside corner at the knees. Speaking of knees, did you see that story about how there's not enough balls in play, so the people at Park Avenue want to raise the strike zone from the bottom of the knee to the top of the knee?
The problem, Keith, is that umpires consistently have been calling pitches strikes at the lower part of the calf. And so they're trying to get them to raise the bottom of that strike zone.
I still think they need to go for, instead of having lunch in the office, they need to go outside and get some sunshine. Take a walk in Central Park.
0-2 to Jock Peterson. Peterson leading the Dodgers with 8 home runs. He had 26 as a rookie last year. And the curveball down. 1-2.
Oh, it is a nice warm night, Gary. You got to be in hog heaven.
This is fantastic.
You love it. You can loosen your tie, you know.
No, I'm very comfortable, kid. 1-2 coming upstairs. 2-2. Well, we finally found the warm weather in Washington, and Ronnie and I were happy to bring it back with us.
Well, you found it in Washington. I found it in my backyard.
There you go. Look a little tan. Strike 3 call. Peterson caught looking at the slider. deGrom off to a fast start. 4 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. Jacob deGrom leading off the home second after the Mets sent 8 men to the plate and scored 3 runs in the first against Julio Urias. So you're Julio Urias, you're 19 years old, you got called up to the big leagues with all the hype. I mean, #1 pitching prospect in all of baseball, according to many of the scouts. And you get a rude awakening in the first inning. So what's he thinking now?
Well, the reason he's here is because of his poise. It's not that he's 19 years old and everyone's eye that scouts or is in the organization for the Dodgers felt like he's fine at 19 to come and pitch against a big league team. I thought the pitch, honestly, and it wasn't the balls that were pulled foul by Granderson. They're pulled right on the nose as deGrom goes down on the strikeout. I thought the 2-2 pitch that he threw in that he thought was strike 3 and the umpire did not call it, and he kind of was aghast. Like, how can you not call that? That's strike 3. He ended up striking Granderson out, but you saw over the course of that inning, he really had a problem with 4 or 5 pitches that he thought were strikes that Bellino did not call strikes.
And so a guy who has been so invincible coming up through the minor leagues, do you lose that feeling of invincibility quickly?
Well, see him right there? He thought that was a strike, and that was called the ball by Bellino. When prodigies like Urias are out there, they just feel like everything has gone their way. So when it doesn't go their way, they're just shocked. I mean, how can you not call that a strike? I've been throwing that pitch all through AAA, all through single and AA.
You remember Coney's first start?
Yeah.
In spring training, he got it lunched, remember? And then his first start here at Old Shea, he got clobbered. And he went on from there.
Yeah.
But he wasn't 19.
2-1 to Granderson. By the way, it is worth noting that in the last 40 years, only one pitcher, has ever won his debut as a starting pitcher as a teenager.
We were both there.
Oh, doctor.
That was Dwight Gooden in Houston in '84. Yep. There's ball 4, and Granderson's on with a 1-out walk. Second walk given up by Urias. There's Drupal Cabrera coming up, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Guys, Matt Reynolds actually faced Julio Urias about 2 weeks ago when he was playing for Vegas and Urias was playing for Oklahoma City. And the stuff Ron is talking about right now, it's exactly what Reynolds said to me before the game today. He said when he was facing him in AAA, he thought he got a lot of calls out of the strike zone. And up here, the strike zones are much tighter. He said, don't be surprised if he struggles with that tonight.
Mr. Reynolds proving prophetic.
Yes.
Here's Cabrera, who doubled down the left field line his first time up. There's that better move by Urias.
You almost, if you're Curtis Granderson, you want to get off on a bigger than normal lead and draw the throw over. You want to see the good move. Well, he's got a pretty simple motion. Compact, husky kind of pitcher. Uses his legs well. That bent front leg that then stiffens out after that. But you want to land on a bent leg if you can. Mechanics are good.
You say chunky. He used to be chunkier. He lost about 20 pounds since last season.
I said husky.
Okay. Well, I said chunky.
Okay.
Either way,
no.
It's not quite as chunky as Fernando was when he came up.
I am not on the record here.
You're off the record?
Yes.
But we're on live TV. 1-1 to Cabrera. David Wright waiting on deck. It's banged Urias around for 3 runs and 4 hits in the first inning. To the point where the Dodgers had the bullpen up. That's taken the other way, chasing Puig back, but he's got it lined up. And he retires Cabrera for the second out.
Boy, Puig plays pretty shallow in right field, but he is great at going back on the ball.
Let's take an early look at our Verizon trivia question for tonight. Which 4 Mets players, current players, have yet to appear on a postseason roster?
Some are young and some are
not so
more
young.
Experienced.
Yep.
There you go. They're adding to that list.
They'd love to run out of room.
Building on the tradition here. A franchise that's well over 50 years old. There's Mook.
Well, it is of note that the Mets have only gone to the postseason in back-to-back years once, 1999 and 2000. That's what they're working on this year. But you know, repeating is tough.
Yes, it is.
As the Kansas City Royals are finding out right now. How about losing Mike Moustakas for the season and Alex Gordon for at least a month or two on the same, what looked like, mild collision.
Well, that team, as the last 2 or 3 years, has stayed away from the injury bug.
Oh boy. Wright gets under one to center field. And Peterson there waiting for it. And that retires the side. When we come back, we'll be joined from the Mets dugout by star rookie left-hander Steven Matz. 3-0 Mets after 2.
Star he is.
The 3-0 lead. Yasiel Puig leads off against Jacob deGrom, and we are very pleased to be joined from the Mets dugout by Steven Matz, winner of his last 7 starts. It can't be that easy, Steven. Is this the best stretch that you've ever been on?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I mean, I think I won 9 games one year in the minor leagues. That's the most I ever won. So.
You know, Stephen, one of the great things about pitching at this level is occasionally you get ownership of your own game, and you got it by having to face Bryce Harper to get that last out in the 8th. Walk us through that. What was that like?
That was pretty cool. I'm really happy that Terry left me out for that to face him there. You know, it just shows that he has faith in me and what I was able to do there. So.
Steve, how long did it take you to really feel? We all get to a point in our career where we feel like we belong. Have you got there yet? If you have, when did you feel, okay, I am a big leaguer?
I would say last year during the postseason, you know, when I was named the fourth game starter of each series, that really gave me some good confidence there. And this year, when I was able to go deep into some games, that really solidified it for me. When I'm able to go deep into games, that means, you know, I'm being able to command the ball well, and that's where I really feel comfortable.
Starting 30 games a year or playing first base every day, which would you prefer?
I got to go starting 30 games.
I disagree.
The starting pitching life is the way to go.
Yes, I know that.
Stephen, when you watch Urias tonight, does it flash you back to when you made your first start last year and what you were feeling that night?
Yeah, definitely. It was. It's pretty cool for him. He's only 19 years old to be out here, and you know, I don't know. Looks like a sellout crowd here. It's pretty cool.
You know, Steve, I was trying to walk us through. You had some tenderness in your forearm area. You decided to skip a start with the organization's blessing, of course. Base hit over the head of Walker. Runners will be on first and second. There goes Puig.
And Walker's throw a little too late. And Puig with some aggressive base running, able to go first to third.
Sorry about that, Gary.
Well, broken bat here, little bloop, and just good base running by Puig. Granderson always plays a very deep right field, so very heads up by Puig knowing where the outfielders are positioned. And you can see it's all his call here. He does not need his third base coach. He's made up his mind right there to book it.
Steve, I was just asking you, when you missed your start, how hard is it to decide that what you have is something that you need a few days to rest?
You know, that was really Terry's decision there. He
DeGrom leaves it behind, and the bases are loaded.
I talked to the trainers that I was a little sore, and he came and talked to me out there in BP that day and just asked what was going on. And, you know, he said it's early, so better skip a start now than, you know, later in the year.
Stephen, how difficult is it when you went through as much as you did physically just to get on the mound to start your career, having missed all that time, to now when you have what feels like just a little bit of a problem, to avoid having the greater concern that something's wrong with your arm? How difficult is that balance for you?
Yeah, it's tough. It's, you know, it's definitely tough. But I got the MRI and the X-rays and everything checked out clear. So just having that peace of mind was huge.
You know, Stephen, you're at a great point right now, but you're always working on perfecting your pitches. What are you working on right now?
You know, right now, I would like. I feel like my changeup's really coming along this year. I would like my curveball to kind of get more on pace with everything else. I feel like that would really kind of help me out a little bit. I feel like it's not where it needs to be.
Stephen, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. We appreciate it, and good luck in your next start against the White Sox.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Stephen Matz joining us from the dugout. Meanwhile, Jacob deGrom dealing with a crisis here, a walk, a blue pit, and then his error on a sacrifice bunt, loading up the bases with nobody out.
We were having a lovely talk with Stephen, and the game got in the way.
And facing Chase Utley with the bases full. Utley walked his first time up. Tying runs aboard for the Dodgers, and Utley lifts one to center. That'll get a run in. Lagares gets under it. Puig taking it third. Grandal's going to hold at second. Sacrifice fly for Utley brings in the first Dodger run, and it's now 3-1 New York.
Well, I know that Grandal doesn't run well. You're down 3 runs. Lagares never got back quick enough where he got his momentum going forward. But I can't criticize Grandal not being aggressive there. And anybody with any kind of speed at all would have taken third base.
So deGrom trying to limit the damage here in the third. He's got Corey Seager coming up with 2 aboard and 1 out. Seager struck out looking into a strike him out, throw him out double play his first time up.
know we were talking to Steven Matz at the time, but it was so shocking to watch DeGrom not be able to come up with that bunt.
You know what my first thought was? There goes the gold. I mean, because he's just as good a fielder as you're going to find on the pitcher's mound.
Boy, I tell you what, Seager really swings from his shoelaces, for crying out loud. He almost came out of his uniform with that swing. In the Navy.
Fleet Week. Seager just 22 years old. Older brother Kyle plays in Seattle. And he takes a strike on the corner, 1-2. Justin Turner waiting on deck. Mets scored 3 in the first. Dodgers have gotten 1 back here in the third. DeGrom ahead on Seager, 1 ball, 2 strikes. And the curveball bends around the plate, 2-2.
Those are his out pitches right there, Ron. You know, if you make that pitch, if you execute that back door, it's a strikeout or an out, and you just can't connect.
Right now, in the first 2 months of the season, that's been a 50-50 pitch for him, hasn't it?
Yep.
1 good, 1 bad.
2-2 coming. Foul back to fastball. Well, it's been nice to see Jake consistently at 95 in these first few innings. Not necessarily his best command, but at least the velocity's up.
Yeah, velocity's up, but I think he's still struggling. What he struggled in his last start is just the ability to throw the ball 2 corners and down. That way, when he does go upstairs, they swing through it.
And Seager, it's a broken back grounder, chance for 2. The turn by Cabrera, side retire. Well, he's back in the running for the goal. 1-6-3 double play started by DeGrom. He limits the damage to 1 run. Baseball Live with the MLB.com at Bat app, which includes game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Everybody received their 86 jerseys on the way in. Did you guys get yours?
I did. I heard they're a little tight around the waistline.
Is it
I've been looking around this, but the audience here, the fans, and but they're all sitting down. I can't tell yet.
Well, we just showed some walking around. Get you a better scouting report coming up. Yoenis Cespedes takes a curveball for a strike as we start the home third inning. Cespedes walked. Bit of a pitch around from Julio Urias in that first inning, and it blew up on him as the next 3 Met hitters all got base hits. It scored 3 runs against Urias in the first. Cespedes, Walker, and Lagares to face him in the third.
3 runs without a home run.
Imagine that.
A novelty.
Urias getting the start because Alex Wood need to have the start pushed back a few days. Wood's going to start on Monday for the Dodgers.
Oh, he gives away some of his off-speed stuff. On occasion, I thought on the changeup that he threw to Lagares, the base hit up the middle, he kind of fudged his delivery a little bit.
3 infielders on the left side for Cespedes. And he gets under one to center field. Peterson had trouble seeing it for a moment. Now he does. And that's the first out. Well, the Dodgers have had a 1+4 rotation this year. There's been Clayton Kershaw, and then there's been everybody else. And it's certainly of concern to the Dodgers. They are going to get some veteran pitchers back from the disabled list soon. Hyun-Jin Ryu's pretty close to coming back from shoulder surgery. Brandon McCarthy is on the horizon coming back from Tommy John surgery, and that should help them. But Kershaw has been he's been everything for the Dodgers. When they haven't had him on the mound, they have been a sub-500 team. Walker takes high.
5 wins in May, 3 shutouts, and 1 more start on Sunday in May.
Walker drove in the first run with a double into the left field corner his first time up. Kershaw, who goes Sunday night against Bartolo Colon in the final game of this series. The Mets were going to see Kershaw Sunday night, Chris Sale Monday afternoon. 2 best lefties in the game. Sale's now going to pitch Sunday for Chicago, so they will not see him in that series. They've had rain issues in that series they're playing in Kansas City, which has caused Robin Ventura to change his mind a couple of times on his rotation. But the Mets will face Jose Quintana, who's having a great year in his own right, on Monday.
I like his stuff.
But what it means is that starting with this game, the Mets are going to face 3 lefties in the next 4, with Kershaw Sunday and Quintana Monday. Foul back by Walker. Well, it was that was not his debut. That was his first start.
That's right. Yeah.
Valenzuela came up in 1980 as a relief pitcher at age 19. He was 20 in 1981 when he made his first start of victory.
That's plenty young.
Handful of games in 1980, 0 ERA.
I remember facing Freddie in 1980. He threw hard. He lost a little, just a piece of his fastball after around his 3rd season, and it helped.
Well, it makes you wonder whether all the innings they put on him as a 20-year-old wound up backfiring.
Well, as a 21-year-old in 81, a 20-year-old in 81, sorry, strike shortened season, 25 starts, 11 of those complete games.
And then the next year he threw 275 innings.
He was something else. He was a painter. He knew how to pitch. He had the great screwball, eyes to the sky, Ronnie, with big leg kick.
That's right.
Ground ball back to the mound, and Urias handles it, and that's the second out.
I remember that.
We had the look to the heavens
And you know another thing too, he could hit.
Yeah, he could hit and field his position. He's a really good athlete.
His rookie year, he won Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and Silver Slugger. His first full year in the big leagues.
He could hit with power too.
Well, 8 starts in the big leagues. That's what Fernando did. A 0.58 ERA, 8-0, and that fueled Fernando mania.
Well, he was something very special.
And he was something beyond a hero to the Mexican American community in Southern California and beyond. That's drilled into left field. A base hit for Lagares, and he's 2 for 2. Takes the hard turn and holds with a 2-out single.
Well, Lagares, when he gets his spot playing time, he continues to get his base hits. Too much plate on that slider. Wanted it back door. He bled back over the middle.
It's amazing when the ball is moving away from Juan, the right-handed pitchers, he has trouble with it. The left-handed pitchers, when the ball is coming in more, he gets it, squares it up more often.
So the Mets have their 5th hit against Urias. And now Kevin Plawecki, who singled to right his first time up to snap an 0 for 17 skid. And takes low and away. Well, we talked about Urias being limited in terms of his pitches. He's about to throw his 70th pitch. He's never thrown more than 89 in a big league game, so it's going to be hard for him to even go 5 innings today. And curveball misses. 2-0.
He's just not happy with himself. The Mets got on him in that first inning and just took him out of his rhythm. He's trying to find it and get back. I give him credit.
And he falls behind Plawecki, 3-0. You see him shaking his head.
Yeah, he's fighting himself. He's, you know, for the first time, he's pitching in front of, you know, an extra deck on the stadium. The place is packed with 45,000 people. All of that. If everything goes swimmingly in the first couple of innings, you can make it work. But when you have to battle so much, especially in that first inning, get you out of sync.
That's a sight for sore eyes for me right there. People in their seats watching the ball game. Place is packed.
Well, and I think what you said, Ronnie, you go back to Matz's first start. Remember, he gave up a home run to Brandon Phillips leading off, and still was able to settle in and get into the 8th inning of that game.
And, you know, 4 or 5 years a senior of Urias. You know, Matz got back in that game with his bat. That's how he got back in that game.
3-2 to Plawecki.
There's going to be a lot brighter days ahead. This is just this happens. Sometimes you go out there and you have the poise of a 25-year-old, and sometimes you're 19.
Lagares gets set to run. 3-2, 2 out, and it's too high. And Plawecki draws a walk. 3rd one given up by Urias. By the way, if you're wondering about the sports goggles for Urias, perhaps you know the story already, but he had a benign tumor in his eye that he had 3 operations for when he was younger, and it left him with a droopy eyelid. It almost looked like his left eye was closed, and last summer he had an operation, cosmetic surgery, to lift the eyelid, and he missed 2 months last year, but he's been wearing the sports goggles to protect that eye ever since.
He's a man of faith, deep faith. His quotes about his eye is, "That's how God works. He gave me a bad left eye, but a good left arm."
And he's always been able to see with that left eye just fine. It's just it was after he had the surgery to remove the tumor, it left him a little bit disfigured, which he had corrected. But that's a great quote, Keith.
It is. It certainly is, and it's terrific.
His numbers in the minor leagues are very much or very close to the same that Kershaw had in the minor leagues.
Campbell lined out to left his first time up. And he fouls one back. Wouldn't be surprising if this is Urias' last inning. They've got bullpen action going for the second time in the Dodger bullpen. Lagares at second, Plawecki at first with 2 down. And Campbell fouls off the fastball, 1-2. Chris Hatcher, who was up in the first inning, is up again. Urias has already walked 3, averaged less than 2 walks per 9 innings in the minors this year. And he misses badly with the changeup, 2-2. Those are his numbers as a starter. He also made 1 relief appearance for Oklahoma City. And you can see just how dominant he was. Two and two to Campbell. And Eric pounds one foul down past Tim Tuffle. It's nice that the 86 gang is getting together. I mean, only half you guys are here on a regular basis.
I mean, I think they're having a big to-do tonight, in fact, that we're missing. But
sorry to keep you.
That's how it goes.
Of course, the big ceremony is tomorrow night, starting at 6:15. We implore all the fans who are coming tomorrow night to be in their seats by 6:15 because you don't want to miss a moment of the ceremonies.
That's right.
Keith, make sure you're on time.
Mets are here. Triumph from a foreign land coming back to Rome.
Lagares and Plawecki get set to run. 3-2 to Campbell, and he walked him to fill the bases. And DeGrom will come up with 3 men aboard. And Dave Roberts is on his way out.
Running out, though.
Well, he's already made the sign.
Toasteroni.
So Julio Urias' big league debut lasts just 2 2/3 innings and 81 pitches. The 19-year-old did not have the kind of debut that he had hoped for and that all the Dodger fans had anticipated. His family still has reason to be proud. Not too many 19-year-olds get a chance to pitch in the major leagues. Chris Hatcher will come in for LA. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Mets up 3-1 and looking for more in the third. 31-year-old Chris Hatcher called on to try and clean up Julio Urias' mess. Jacob deGrom steps in with the bases loaded and takes a strike.
Like most of the bullpen for the Dodgers, they've gotten much better. Only a couple of runs given up Hatcher's last 8 games.
Dodger bullpen the last 23 innings has allowed only 2 earned runs. Even though their closer Kenley Jansen blew a couple of saves last weekend. And deGrom jumps back from the 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Hatcher's second year with the Dodgers after spending 4 years with the Marlins.
Converted from, what was he, a catcher?
Hatcher the catcher.
And hard thrower.
deGrom struck out his first time up. He's got 2 RBIs this year. Bases loaded, 2 out. And he swings through the fastball, 1-2. Urias retired the first 2 hitters here in the third, but Lagares a base hit, walks to Plawecki and Campbell, ending Urias' night.
Hatcher was on the mound when Noah Syndergaard was trying to leave for the 3rd time in the game.
Right. After he hit the 2 home runs against Maeda, who he'll face tomorrow. Now, if you're Kenta Maeda, you have to have strong consideration about how you're going to pitch Noah Syndergaard tomorrow night.
A lot of slow stuff.
Remember Joe Blanton came in later in that game, threw him 6 straight sliders. deGrom struck out his first time up tonight. Opportunity to do him some tremendous good here. But he goes down swinging on the high fastball to end the inning. So the Mets strand 3. They've left 6 on in the first 3 innings. 3-1 New York. Years since these guys won the hearts of New York. Mets' last World Series championship.
Yep, it was quite a squad, wasn't it?
And the vast majority of them are back this weekend and will be celebrated here tomorrow night.
Nice job they did on the field, huh? That's great. Saw this.
Of course, the Mets are wearing the 1986 style uniforms that'll become a staple for Sunday home games, but they're wearing them this entire weekend. Justin Turner leads off the 4th inning against Jacob deGrom, and deGrom buzzes him inside for ball 1.
It's interesting to watch the Mets players in them because they wear most of their uniforms. They were kind of baggy in today's game, and we certainly didn't in our day.
No, you were closer to the skin tight uniforms. Not quite the Lee Mazzilli 1979 version of skin tight.
That was speed skating. That wasn't baseball.
One Maz, a lot of fans.
He was painted into those pants, wasn't he?
Saying he was the Eric Heiden of his day. Oh, and Turner gets hit in the back by a changeup. First batter that DeGrom has hit this year, and it gives the Dodgers a leadoff base runner with Gonzalez coming up. Fourth inning brought to you by the 2017 Audi A4 and your Tri-State Audi dealers. So tomorrow, when the 86 group gathers here at Citi Field, is there someone in particular you guys are looking forward to seeing?
The guys that I don't see, I'm looking forward to seeing Rafael Santana. I'm looking forward to seeing Danny Heap. Danny Heap always made me laugh. Ray, of course. So those are the guys that I'm on. Sid.
Just like any other reunion, I think what happens is that you're transported in time. So it's so great being around all the guys, and you become 25 or 30 years old again instantly.
Well, speak for yourself. I don't feel like I'm 35 physically. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But I still hurt. So.
But it's just a blast to see all those guys. You know, you become a band of brothers when you win a championship, and you know, how do I say it? Love might be too strong of a word, but you know, you care about these people so much because you know they picked you up when you needed it, and you picked them up, and ends up with 108 wins.
108 wins. I mean, trying to find out from Doogie over there if. How many teams in the history of baseball won 108 games or more? I don't think you're going to find. I think it's less than 20.
Well, there have been a million stories told. There have been dozens of books written about the 1986 team. Do either one of you have a memory or a story that is not widely known that
can be told?
Well, right, that the whole world doesn't know and that is safe for air. Gonzalez drills one to the center for a base hit, and here come the Dodgers again. They get the first two men on in the fourth.
Well, Garrett, I can't. Something like there are things that are best left unsaid, and there's a lot of them, and that we can't say. But I'll say one thing about the team. And everybody said this and that. I played for 17 different teams in my career, and no team was different. People played hard and they lived hard. We're on the road. We're a group. It's like a fraternity. We're on a night schedule playing night games. You go home after a game. You're still geared up from a game. You're not going to go home and watch TV. That's all there is to it. And our group stayed together, and it was like no other team. We had a great time together, a great camaraderie. But everybody came to the ballpark ready to play.
That was the only team that I played on in my career that they not only wanted to beat you, they kind of want to rip your heart out. You know what I mean? They really had they were on point every single day.
Want to know to Howie Kendrick. And DeGrom gets a strike. Well, let me ask you this then. Okay. That team, among other things, was known for some of the fights that they had on the field and occasionally off the field. Do you think we're in an era now where fighting in baseball is very rare? Just judge from the reaction from the Odor Batista dust up. That kind of thing used to happen more. Campbell goes to second for the fourth. Relay by Cabrera, not in time. Kendrick able to beat it out to prevent the double play. So the Mets settle for the 3-6 force on Gonzalez for the first out.
Well executed here all the way around. Campbell gets rid of it quick. DeGrom covers, but too much speed from Kendrick, and he just gets in ahead of the throw. Safe. Good call.
So runners to the corners with one out, and Jock Peterson coming up. Do you think your team became closer and enjoyed more success because of the battles that you had? Not baseball battles, but physical battles.
Well, I think part of it is that team was hated around the National League. It was hated because of the excellence, but I also have to say hated because of some of the showmanship that team had, and people around the league just didn't want to take it. But they also, it was on them sometimes. There was a game that was at Shea Stadium. Tom Niedenfuer was pitching, and George Foster took him deep for a home run. The next batter, Ray Knight, he hit. And Ray Knight went out there to fight because Ray was like, why are you hitting me? I didn't hit the ball over the fence. But how the game has changed after that dust-up, and there were, 50 guys on the field throwing haymakers, and they finally settled everyone. Ray went to first. Tom Niedenfuer threw the next pitch. No one was ejected. It was just like, okay, you got it out of your system, boys. Let's go. Let's play.
And I think, Gary, that Carter was a guy, and I said it, was a guy that you did not like when you played against Gary. And when you played with him, I can speak for both sides, you respected him and loved him because he came every day with an intensity and a will to win. We were not liked, as Ronnie said, around the league because we were brash. And the two guys, Lenny and Wally, kind of set the tone of brashness.
Right.
Two little guys that played with all dirty. And it showed when the Phillies wouldn't let us go in there to clinch, and we went to St. Louis on that road trip, and they wouldn't let us clinch. We had to come home, beat the Cubs for it.
1-2 to Peterson. Guy was prone to the strikeout. DeGrom could use a strikeout. So I'll ask the question again. Did the fights make you guys closer? Did they help you win?
No, I don't think so. I think more the camaraderie off the field after a game, going and having a few beers in a bar and talking about the Ray Knight to Wally. How did he pitch you? What'd you hit? And that's what I think brought us all together.
1-2, and Peterson bounced the foul.
I always thought of those fights that, never was, okay, guys, let's go get him. It was sort of like, oh, here we go again. That's how it kind of was.
By the way, I'm stand corrected. It's 8 teams. We're one of 8 teams in the history of Major League Baseball to win 108 games or more. That's something to be very, very proud of.
Yeah. That's hard. That's 2/3 of the games. It's a lot of games. Peterson was caught looking his first time up. It's too high.
4 of those 8 teams, Gary, played the 154 game schedule.
Well, you have the Indians in 54, 111.
09 Pirates, 27 Yanks, 54 Indians, 06 Cubs.
Turner at third, Kendrick at first with 1 out. Tying runs on base for the Dodgers. And Peterson with a half swing. He went around strike 3. Bill Cosby with the call. DeGrom gets a very useful strikeout for the second out.
What do you think, Ron?
Peterson did not think he went.
Neither do I.
I would say you have to break your wrists. Maybe that
close.
top hand, right?
Fifth strikeout for DeGrom. Now 2 out of the inning and a chance to get through it facing Yasiel Puig, who walked his first time up. Well, it goes without saying how important the 1986 title was for Met fans and really for all New Yorkers. It was such an interesting time in New York in the 80s, and you guys were such a part of the fabric and really fit in with that decade, which I think is one of the reasons why the popularity has endured. As Cabrera gets the force on Walker, and DeGrom was able to get the Mets through the 4th inning. Dodgers got a couple of men on, couldn't score. Images from 1986 as we celebrate the Mets' last championship this weekend at Citi Field. Memorial Day, Mets and White Sox open their 3-game series. Coverage begins 12:30 Monday right here on SNY. Curtis Granderson takes a strike as we start the home 4th inning. Granderson has struck out and walked. Mets have had a ton of base runners over the first 3 innings. Scored 3 in the first, but Chris Hatcher came in to strike out DeGrom with the bases loaded in the 3rd, and Mets have stranded 6 over the first 3 innings. Julio Urias in his big league debut, the 19-year-old, went 2 2/3, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, a wild pitch, 81 pitches for Urias. 1-2 to Granderson with Cabrera and Wright to follow. I was going to ask you before the last break, with all that you guys mean to people because of what you accomplished 30 years ago, and all the people who have come up to you over the years to express to you what you guys and that team meant to them. Strike 3 call is Granderson's card looking. Is there one moment that stands out in terms of things that people have said to you or gestures people have made to you that might have been different from the average, hey guys, I loved you in '86?
That's an interesting question. Mine isn't such a warm and fuzzy story. A guy came up to me and said, a Mets fan, and he gave me a hug, which, you know me, that was like, whoa, easy there, bro. So he gave me a big hug, and he said, I always wanted to meet you. And I said, why? He goes, well, in the 80s, I was a degenerate gambler. And I bet on your starts in '86. And I think the Mets went 32-8. And he said, you bought my house that I still live in today. That's the craziest story I've ever had someone tell me.
Really? With me, it's always been very simple. I get a big smile on my face when I've had so many people come up to me that their parents named him Keith.
Really?
Because of, and they were born in '86.
That's cool. That's
so,
cool.
And of all not nationalities, they're all American. But Latin families, Latin kids, white kids, African Americans, there's been a lot that come up to me and say, my mom and dad named me after you, Keith. And I said, isn't that a nice name? No one has that name.
That's cool.
It is cool. Yeah, it is. It makes me feel good.
That's great.
We should get all the people who are named after Keith to like tweet or something. Right? Tweet at SNY TV, right? Tweet there. Let us know if you were named after Keith, because that's cool. I know someone was named after you, Ronnie, because he was just named recently.
That's right.
Your son.
I was thinking of the Vince Vaughn movie where he was the father to a lot of kids, but that would be really cool to have everyone chime in.
Need a special Keith reunion, right? All the 20-somethings who were named after you.
It's nice. I like it. It warms my heart.
It's an amazing tribute.
Yeah, it
is. Really is. David Wright has struck out and flied out. Hatcher's retired 3 in a row in relief. Feels like the Mets should be a lot further ahead.
Yes, and they're letting the Dodgers hang around. And DeGrom has pitched out of 2 tough spots already. He's had to work hard.
That's DeGrom, though. David hits one well to center field. Peterson back to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here! David Wright homers for a 3rd straight game. 7th home run of the year for Wright, and the Mets lead at 4-1.
Boy, oh boy.
That's like an old-time David Wright right center field home run.
Yes, it is. Off a hard thrower, too, which is promising that he got around.
Last time David homered in 3 straight games was 2013. And after hitting 2 home runs in Washington, he clouts this one.
It was supposed to be a cutter away. It just stayed right down the middle.
You got to hit those mistakes. So it's all or nothing for David, huh? Of late. I always like it, Ronnie, and you called it when he goes that right. He uses that right center field.
Cespedes has walked and flied out 0 for 1, and he drills one foul.
Well,
that Mets home run means $2,000 for No Kid Hungry, enough to provide 20,000 healthy meals courtesy of Citi. 67th Met home run this season. Cespedes leads with 15. That leads everybody in the National League.
You know what you're going to get from Hatcher. Hatcher's just going to throw as hard as he can. Oh boy, that tied him up.
Cespedes strikes out to end the inning. 3 strikeouts for Hatcher, but David Wright hits a home run for his 3rd straight game. David's long ball gives DeGrom a 3-run lead as we go to the 5th at Citi Field. Discover why Ford is the total package. 4-1 New York as we go to the 5th. Jacob DeGrom has had to work out of some severe trouble the last 2 innings. He'll get the 8, 9, and 1 hitters here in the 5th. Yasmani Grandal leads off. Grandal had a bloop hit to right his first time up. Kike Hernandez has come out on deck to pinch hit with the pitcher's spot due up next. Dodgers are going with an 8-man bullpen and a 4-man bench right now as Grandal swings over the top 1-1.
Good slider. Best one he's thrown all night.
Joe Blanton, who looked great when he faced the Mets in L.A. up in the Dodger bullpen. And DeGrom throws a curveball over the heart of the plate for a ball. 2-1. Grandal lifts one out to center, and Lagares is right there. 1 away. It's only the 2nd time in 5 innings that DeGrom has retired the leadoff hitter. Makes life a little easier.
Could use himself a couple good innings.
Now Kike Hernandez will be the pinch hitter. Hernandez just 2 for 15 as a pinch hitter. Dodgers have only 1 lefty on the bench. That's Carl Crawford.
The Dodgers have to watch themselves because the Giants are trying to run and hide.
The Giants have won 13 of their last 14. Winning every manner of close game these days. DeGrom ahead 0-2. And Hernandez lays off the curveball. Dodgers now have fallen 4.5 behind the Giants in the NL West.
Well, someone needs to win that division if they want to go into the postseason. And there's not a wild card coming out of the West.
Hit hard. Oh, a brilliant pickup. And he throws out Hernandez. You know, I keep reading about this subpar Mets infield. I don't know what the numbers in the advanced metrics say, but this guy is having a great defensive season.
It's a beautiful play right there. Purely reactionary. He has made all the plays. Beautiful backhand. Well done.
Well, this might not score high, Gary, but this is like trying to catch a bullet with your glove. And he did it.
Well, he's made every manner of play, and he's done it brilliantly. Here's Utley getting the Utley treatment. Utley has walked and delivered a sacrifice fly for the Dodgers' only run so far tonight.
Well, he almost thought that Chase Utley was done, and he's made himself into a tough out again.
37 years old now. Hit just .212 last year between the Phillies and the Dodgers.
I wonder if it has anything to do with, you know, he's a Southern California kid back at home towards the end of his career. I don't know.
I think also, you know, he's a guy who's always been a run producer, and he's been put in a different role, much as Curtis Granderson was. And he's responded to it. There's a strike. Good slider by Jake. 2-2.
Been a good inning for him with this down and in slider to the lefties.
Fans are having their say. 2-2. Up and away. Full count. And he walks him for a second time. Couldn't get him to bite at that slider. And there's the third walk issued by DeGrom, the second to Utley.
So DeGrom has had glimpses of making it look easy, but the overall package of his work has not been easy tonight.
He's allowed just 2 hits, but the 3 walks and a hit batsman have put him in harm's way. He also made an error, which made life a little more complicated for him back in the third.
The one positive here is that he has got zip on his fastball tonight.
And by zip, you mean a lot.
Yes. well, if you want to clarify that
zip could go either way.
It can mean a lot of things. We won't go there.
Yes, exactly.
Here's the breakdown of his pitches this season. Almost 2/3 of fastball still.
Changeup use down from past years. Seager is 0 for 2, a strikeout and a double play ball. And the changeup misses. 1-1. Hasn't had much command of that pitch.
It's got a good change of pace, but it doesn't have a lot of movement on it.
Justin Turner would be next.
Seager's got a big uppercut. You can pop him upstairs.
Into left field, falling fast, and it's down for a base hit for Seager. So Seager with a 2-out opposite field hit, and now the Dodgers will get the tying run to the plate with Justin Turner coming up.
Yeah, I'll take it. Ate him up a little bit inside. Inside out.
Chokes up on the bat a couple inches. That might have saved him there.
So now Turner, who was hit in the back by a changeup his last time up, struck out in his first at bat, so he's 0 for 1. Utley at second, Seager at first with 2 out. So nothing has come easily for DeGrom. He had a 1-2-3 inning in the second with a couple of strikeouts, but every other inning the Dodgers have had runners in scoring position. Turner takes off the plate, ball 1.
Interesting, the defensive positioning of the outfielders. It seemed like in the postseason, every hit Turner got was to left center. Lagares shaded over to right, although Cespedes has moved a little bit towards that left center field gap.
Hit sharply, but right at Cabrera. Goes the short way, and that retires the side. And DeGrom finds his way out of trouble for the 3rd straight inning. Halfway through, 4-1 New York.
On the night of May 27th, things got pretty wild for the rest of the Mets, too, especially Ray Knight, whose brawl with Dodger pitcher Tom Niedenfuhr branded the Mets with a reputation they would live with for the rest of the season.
Well, that's the one you referenced earlier about Ray Knight getting drilled by Tom Niedenfuhr and charging the mound.
Me and Keith are right in there. I'm on Keith's back as we're getting David Palmer.
By the way, that was not the best shot that Ray Knight got in during the season.
No.
His one-punch takedown of Eric Davis was a sight to behold.
I love the way Ray just threw his bat down, though.
Joe Blanton on to pitch in the bottom of the 5th for the Dodgers.
That opponent's average, 141.
This may be the best Joe Blanton has ever pitched.
Well, he looks in fantastic shape. He's gotten rid of that big overhand kind of slow curveball, and now his fastball hard slider.
Blanton, now 35 years old, former starting pitcher, has settled into a role in the bullpen. And Walker stopped the swing in time, 2-0. Walker delivered the first Met run with a double in the 1st. And a comebacker in the 3rd, batting left-handed for the first time tonight. Lagares on deck, Plawecki behind him. Well, all the talk coming into the game was about Julio Urias, the 19-year-old from Mexico, making his major league debut. It did not go well for him. Did not get through the 3rd inning. That scored 3 against him in the 1st. David Wright hit a home run against Chris Hatcher in the 4th. And Jacob deGrom has tiptoed through the tulips all night. 3-1 to Walker.
Good call.
That's very good.
How did that act fly?
Tiny Tim?
Yes.
Because it was so bizarre for its time.
Remember when he got married?
To Miss.
She was beautiful.
What was her name? Miss.
Just trying to think about
Vicky.
Vicky. That's it.
I mean, Johnny Carson had him on all the time, and it was entertaining. It was fun and funny.
In a perverse sort of way, with his ukulele.
Yes. And that voice.
Walker fouls one away. Sometimes playing against expectations works really well. I mean, were you a fan of Andy Kaufman?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's funny because
I thought he
did things that
he was
nobody else
goofy.
would do.
In a Bellucci sort of way.
Strike three called as Walker's caught looking on a slider.
When he did the wrestling thing.
Or the Mighty Mouse routine. Or that. Did you ever see the special Andy Kaufman did?
Yes.
The strangest special in television history. Try YouTube it sometime.
Yeah, he and his agent.
Yeah. Juan Lagares is 2 for 2. He's driven in 2 runs tonight. And he takes the breaking ball off the plate.
When he first came up with the Oakland A's, was a fixture in that rotation. Double-digit winner, it seemed, every year, and then became kind of a journeyman after that.
Best year came in 2006. He won 16 games for Oakland. Then went to Philly and to the Dodgers, to the Angels, to the Royals. Last year with the Pirates, now back with LA for a second stint. Lagares hits one deep to right field, chasing Puig back to the track at the wall. It's out of here! Juan Lagares with his first home run of the year, an opposite field shot, and it's 5-1 New York. Big night for Juan Lagares. His third hit, his third RBI.
Impressive opposite field. Another hanging slide piece. Little flat, little slider up, out over the plate. And this is impressive. That's off that Honda sign. You know how I feel about Hondas.
Lelecki hits one out to right center. This one's playable. And Puig comes over to get it 2 out.
You almost feel like Cespedes is saying to Lagares, about time. About time you knocked it out of the park.
69th at bat of the year, produces his first home run. We've always felt as though Lagares has got more power than he's shown so far in the big leagues.
He's a funny hitter, Gary. He's very stiff with his swing. And I think he's very serious. It's good to see him smile. It's hard to put my finger on him as far as what kind of hitter he is. He's very unpredictable at the plate, which could create a problem for a pitcher. You can make a pitch on him, and you can make contact and hit it hard.
Turner throws out Campbell to end the inning, but the Mets with their second solo home run in the last 2 innings. David Wright went deep in the 4th. Lagares hits one in the 5th, and it's 5-1 New York. in New York. Empire State Building all lit up.
Ronnie, all your family coming in for tomorrow?
They're not, because they were here last week. My son graduated from college, so they're all in last week, so they couldn't do both weekends. So they had a choice, and college graduation is more important.
I guess so. I got all my family in.
That's
all
fantastic.
the daughters, Mary, Jesse. Who's the other one? Oh, Melissa. Hi, Melissa. They're watching. I had to throw that shot.
What are you, Antonio Cromartie? Come on.
I had to throw that one in for Melissa, make her smile. They're all watching right now, by the way. The two hubbies, Chris and Andrew, the two grandkids. Now they can turn the TV off and go swim.
Now let me ask you a question. You got all the daughters and their families.
Yes.
And they're all staying at Shea Keith.
It's 10 of them. And Melissa's on the couch because my brother, there's no room for my brother and his wife. They're in. So I got them a place in Sag Harbor. And we're all coming in. There's 12 of us coming in. It's the only time we've all been together as a group.
That's great.
I do believe this. All three of us.
Gonzalez foul tips it. Strikeout number 6 for Jacob deGrom. Let's check in with the studio. CJ Papa has a game break brought to you by your local Honda dealers. Scherzer is a great pitcher, but the last 2 years he's been a home run machine.
14 or 15 home runs now he's given up, and Scotty is having a monster year.
He is, and they've needed that because they've had so many guys underperform for the Cardinals. Now Kendrick goes after the slider, and it's 1-1. Cardinals start the day at 500 for the season, and Keith was talking about how they have to win the West to get in. Well, the Cardinals need to pick it up.
They do.
Fly ball out to left center. And Cespedes has the call. 2 out. Well, tonight, Jacob deGrom matching up against the 19-year-old prospect Julio Urias. Not a good night for Urias. He took it on the chin, and the Mets have gotten the long ball from right in Lagares in support of deGrom, who has done some serious escape work. Looking for an easy inning here in the 6th. He's retired the first 2, and he'll face Jock Peterson, who's already struck out twice tonight. deGrom's amazing. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. If he has great stuff, if he has poor stuff. Peterson lifts one to right. He just seems to find a way to get his 6 or 7 innings, 1 or 2 runs. And here he is again tonight. 1, 2, 3. Go the Dodgers in the top of the 6th. deGrom and the Mets up 5-1. the best or nothing. That's box score presented by Jeep. Big night for Juan Lagares. 3 for 3, a homer, 3 RBIs. David Wright is also homered. Neil Walker drove in a run with a double. That's with a 5-1 lead as they come to bat in the 6th. And Jacob deGrom hits one out to center field. Jock Peterson right there waiting for it. 1 pitch and 1 out for Joe Blanton in the 6th. Let's see, deGrom's at 94 pitches through 6, so he gets 1 more inning.
Yeah.
deGrom has thrown as many as 103 this year. That was his first start against the Dodgers. He wanted that one back.
Right down the middle. He was sitting on it. And
well, he wants to join that that home run parade, you know. Harvey's got 1. Cologne's got 1. Syndergaard's got 3.
Syndergaard's different because he's a big, powerful kid. But for most pitchers, organically, you got to let it just happen. You can't go up there looking to hit the ball in the ballpark because then you'll hit 100 for the season.
Well, Matz will hit 1 eventually.
Yeah, definitely. On our staff, I mean, Dwight definitely had his share. Sid could hit.
Yep. Sid was a long ball guy.
Coney couldn't hit. Bobby O.
Coney had a banjo.
Yeah, he did.
First Met pitcher ever to get a pinch hit. David Cone.
That pitcher should have been released immediately.
Granderson 0 for 2 and a walk, and he flails at that slider, and Blanton has his 2nd strikeout. 3rd time Granderson's been struck out tonight.
Boy, that walk with his bat there. That's the first time I've seen Curtis Granderson dejected. He's such a positive personality, but this is not the kind of swing you usually see from Grandy.
Strikeouts have become prevalent in the game, and we've gotten used to that. But you can't even describe what Houston did to Baltimore the last 3 days. Astros pitchers struck out 52 batters in a 3-game series, which is a major league record. By half a dozen, they broke the record.
Kendrick, now we mentioned earlier, this is only his 9th game out in left field. He's checking this. Oh, that's cheating.
Wilmer Flores usually keeps that piece of paper under his hat. And everybody needs one now. You've got to know where you're positioning each hitter. And for Kendrick, who's a neophyte in the outfield, probably even more necessary. 0-2 to Cabrera. And Blanton misses away. Cabrera delivered a double and scored a run in the 1st. Since then, he's flied out twice. The game in Washington's gone to the bottom of the 8th. 6-2 St. Louis. And Blanton looking tremendous with that slider. Gets a couple of strikeouts in the inning. deGrom back to the mound for the 7th, up 5-1.
Weekend's festivities as the Mets honor the '86 team on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. Yasiel Puig leading off in the 7th. Hits a lazy fly ball to right. Curtis Granderson squeezes it. 1 pitch and 1 out for DeGrom in the 7th.
Well, the Mets can strike out a lot, and the Dodgers can hit some lazy fly balls.
There's Grandal, who had a bloop single in the 3rd, 1 for 2 on the night. When you look at the overall numbers, I'm a little surprised to see the Dodgers are in the top half of the National League in runs scored, because the games we've seen them this year, even though they split the 4-game series with the Mets in LA, they have not looked that potent as an offensive team. 2 pitches and 2 outs for DeGrom to start the 7th inning.
Beautiful.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market, by the NYU SPS Masters in Sports Business, and by Sleepy. Shop Sleepy's 3-day doorbuster weekend with special Memorial Day deals every day, the only mattress professionals. Okay, now Carl Crawford's going to come up to pinch hit. They say you can't swing at the first pitch if the first 2 hitters have made an out on 1 pitch, but they always tell pinch hitters to swing at the first strike they see.
I think that as a pinch hitter, you got to swing the bat.
Well, he took a strike.
Just interesting at bats coming in with DeGrom at 94 pitches. Swung at the first 2 pitches, made 2 outs. Thank you very much, Jacob says.
Well, certainly will ease his way through this 7th if he can get Crawford. And he gets ahead of him 1 and 2. It's been a waste of a season so far for Crawford. Really, go back to when he signed that big contract with the Red Sox. Very little has gone right for Carl Crawford. He was a star in Tampa Bay.
One of the more dynamic players in the game.
And he strikes out on the curveball. 7 strikeouts for DeGrom. He has himself a 6-pitch inning. Stellar effort by DeGrom. Stretch time, 5-1 New York. Trivia question: 4 Met players who have yet to appear on a postseason roster, and they are. There you go.
Yeah, that would be something for Rene Rivera, right? Jim Henderson. Oh yeah.
Both those guys well into their 30s. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Mets with a 5-1 lead. Well, when we last saw Lewis Coleman, he was striking out every Met he faced in LA.
Well, he has got that great sidearm fastball and slider. You don't see it very often, and makes it tough, especially on the right-handed hitters.
Coleman pitched in 3 games in that 4-game series, faced 5 batters, and struck them all out.
David Wright leads off in the home 7th. David hit a home run to right center his last time up, his 7th home run of the year and his 3rd in his last 3 games. It's not a game for the Mets this year unless they hit a couple of home runs.
Yep.
68 home runs now. This is the Mets' 47th game.
And they got the home run leader hitting cleanup.
Cespedes, the aforementioned home run leader. Walker behind him. Dodgers 1 run, 3 hits. The Mets 5 runs and 7 hits. We're in the home 7th. Last time up, David did this.
Opposite field. There was a little spinner cutter that didn't cut, stayed inner half, and David drove it the opposite field over the Geico sign.
FXH.
So you got a car in and the insurance in one game.
He learned his lesson well.
Oh. From the best.
Did we see if DeGrom got handshakes?
I don't think he did. No one up in that bullpen either.
At a 6-pitch top of the 7th, leaving him at an even 100 for the night.
Well, no one's up in the pen.
And he is one of those guys that can kind of kid around and smile in between innings, not super serious.
And the slider in for a call 3rd strike. Right caught looking. So that's 6 batters Coleman's faced against the Mets and 6 strikeouts. Noah Syndergaard takes you behind the scenes, off the field and away from the game in the SNY.TV digital series, The Amazing Life, presented by Coca-Cola. Check out new episodes at SNY.TV/Coca-Cola. I am betting, Ronnie, that you never smiled sitting on the bench between innings when you were pitching.
I was very serious.
Yes, you were.
It wasn't even on the day of. I mean, the day of pitching, Gary. I was so miserable and made everyone around me miserable.
No, you didn't.
No, I'm talking about family.
Oh,
yeah, not at the ball.
That's a different thing.
Yeah,
I thought we were family.
Different kind.
It's funny because you tell me stories that you see Jerry Blevins up. Al Leiter, he could talk with anyone and kid with anyone on the day he pitched.
He would hold court in front of his locker. He'd have 5 or 6 people sitting around him just gabbing away. He's not doing anything different now.
That's right. He stayed true to his school. Absolutely.
When's he running for office?
Got to be soon.
Next cycle, probably.
Probably thought about it halfway through this cycle.
Yeah, sure. Anybody can run.
Little old funky side armor, tough on righties. The one thing about these guys that are a little semi-Laredo is that their breaking stuff tends to stay flat because their delivery is almost sidearm. But for a right-hand hitter, tough.
Now, Laredo is used. I mean, I love that phrase. I mean, that word. Laredo's because South Texas, right?
Right.
First guy I heard that referred to was David Cohn.
Right. Drop down Laredo. The famous ballad, Streets of Laredo.
Well, Coleman continues this incredible run. 7 Met batters faced, 7 Met batters struck out.
Slider, tough to lay off.
Is that Marty Robbins?
Marty Robbins sang it. Also Frankie Lane sang it. A lot of Western, the old cowboy ballads. It's really a beautiful song. It's about an old cowboy gunslinger he's dying. Bang the drum slowly.
Robert De Niro.
It's true. But that's baseball.
Michael Moriarty.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who wrote that book? Terrific book that they made into that movie.
What's the name of the movie, dog?
Bang, Bang,
That's
the
right.
Drum
That's right. That's right.
Walker 1 for 3 tonight, and he takes inside from Coleman 2-0.
Always the test is you can see if these Laredo pitchers can get the left-handers out, but
Thrown across his body, Ron.
across his body, he's not like all the way down, kind of more sidearm.
Not a bad breaking ball to a lefty.
But he missed with it and falls behind Walker 3-0. Not a bad spot for Neal to be swinging here.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretzel.
That gets you. Randy Jones was that way. He was a left-hand pitcher for the Mets for a short while when his end of his career.
He was not Randy Jones anymore at that point. There's a strike. And Randy Jones was in his prime with the Padres. He pitched games in an hour and 35 minutes.
7 o'clock starts in San Diego. You'd be on the streets by 10. Showered and freshened up and ready to go.
Match him up against Jim Cott.
Oh, Jimmy worked fast.
Three and one to Walker with 2 out. And he slams that into right field. Puig will have to play it on a hop. And Walker's got his second hit of the night.
So Walker, who slumped and had his average drop, has started to come around again. Swinging the bat much better.
10 for 30 in his last 9 games now.
Mark Harris was the author of Bang the Drum Slowly.
Harris, okay.
Somebody texted me that, and I have no idea who it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it came up as a phone number I've never seen before.
Maybe everyone has your number by now, Gary. It has been 11 years.
Probably a problem. Well, Lagares working on a big night. 3 for 3, a homer, 3 RBIs. Delivered a 2-run single in the first inning, a single in the third, and then an opposite field home run in the fifth, his first home run of the season. So the Mets have finally broken through against Lewis Coleman. Somebody didn't strike out. Walker with the 2-out hit. Today's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. It did not go as hoped for the 19-year-old phenom, Julio Urias. Knocked out in the third inning. Jacob deGrom, on the other hand, able to work through some trouble and get through 7 terrific innings. Lagares tries to stop the swing, and he does. 2-1. Adam Hamari, the young umpire at first base, making the call. You like these new short sleeve shirts the umpires have? They're richer blue than they've had in the past.
Yeah, I don't mind them. Do you, Ronnie? They're fine. I didn't even notice.
I have a little problem with the color because it's hard for me to see, but I do. They look a little tighter and well, they more fit.
And they got those black interior stripes,
Yeah,
which I think also make them stand out. It's a nice look. I broke them out the other day when the weather finally warmed up. 3-1 to Lagares, and he takes a strike, a slider that just caught the corner.
I never liked the old look when the American League, when they had the burgundy sport coats.
Yeah, those were terrible. Ron Luciano in burgundy.
In the dark gray pants.
That was not good.
It was not a good uniform.
That ball looks like it almost starts behind Lagares.
Now Walker will be in motion. Gonzalez playing behind him. 3-2, 2 out. And Lagares pokes one in the air, shallow right. That could fall. Here comes Puig, and he makes a nice running catch. That's all that stood between Lagares and 4 for 4. Puig coming a long way to catch that ball just inside the line.
That ball was fair too, and what a play.
After 7, 5-1 New York. Jerry Blevins on in relief for New York as we go to the 8th inning. And by the reaction, you can tell Chase Utley is at the plate. Utley without an official at bat tonight. 2 walks and a sacrifice fly. And Blevins gets a fastball over. So Jacob deGrom went 7. Allowed a run on 3 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, a hit by pitch, 100 pitches for deGrom. And he lowers his ERA to 2.81. And a chance to go to 4-1 on the year if the bullpen can get 6 outs for him. Nice looking curveball from Blevins to get ahead 0-2.
And dare I say, he has not been Jacob deGrom yet, but this was the closest version.
Well, certainly his velocity was the best it's been in any start this year.
But he had some real good sliders late in the game, especially the lefties.
Corey Seager on deck, then Justin Turner. And the fastball gets Utley looking.
Well, you look for the breaking ball because he's a breaking ball pitcher, and he can sneak one right by you as he did there to Utley.
Of all the strikeouts tonight, that one draws the greatest cheer. Addison Reed staying busy in the Mets bullpen. You have the left-hand batting Seager up, the right-hand hitting Turner on deck. Seager 1 for 3, an opposite field single his last time. And he takes a fastball strike.
You have to think that Blevins, he doesn't get him 1, 2, 3. Certainly he's going to have to face Adrian Gonzalez. Reed would come on for Kendrick.
Hit hard, base hit for Seager. Takes another one to the opposite field. His second hit of the night. Your Mets power pitchers of the week brought to you by East Coast Power and Gas. And those are the bullpen numbers for the Mets in May. Bullpen has been absolutely spectacular. Terry Collins on his way out to the mound. Looks like he's going to go to Addison Reed right here. So Blevins faces the 2 lefties, and he'll take his exit. Reed on his way in. 5-1 New York in the 8th. We'll be right back. Blog podcast for an in-depth discussion on Jets OTAs, the absence of Eric Decker, and the latest on the quarterback situation. Still on the Jets blog, part of the SNY.TV blog network. Addison Reed on for the first time in 6 days.
Well, his numbers across the board are great. He hasn't pitched, as Gary said, in 6 days, but his 27 strikeouts in 20 innings. Left-handed hitters only hitting 200 as he faces right-handed hitting Turner.
Turner's 0 for 2 and a quick pitch, and Turner unhappy with that.
Should be a balk. You can't quick pitch with a guy on base. I mean, what are the umpires watching?
Well, it was a ball, so it worked in Turner's favor, but he's still unhappy about it.
I think the Dodgers would rather have a runner on second base.
Yeah.
Well, this is something that Reed has been doing with great frequency, altering his rhythm coming to the plate out of the stretch.
That's a ball.
It's just a brain cramp.
Jeez.
I think he didn't realize there's a guy in first. You just can't do that.
What's with the umps?
They all missed it.
Wake up.
But you know what? He's been doing that recently, and they don't call it.
Well, they better.
You can't do that.
In fact, that's the second balk that they've missed today. Urias balked when he was out there in the second inning.
Just misses, and it's 3-1 to Turner. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Turner gets on. This inning becomes way too interesting for Addison Reed with the power of Gonzalez next. Seager at first and 1 out, and Turner pops one up right along the line. And Granderson.
Oh, tough one.
Walker can't get to it.
Boy,
Walker thought he was going to get there and then pulled up. I think he thought Granderson was going to come in.
Where's Grandy on that? I know Grandy plays out there in the far reaches of right field, but
it's almost the same place that Puig
exactly
got the Lagares ball.
So it falls as a mere foul ball and prolongs the turn at bat for Turner.
That's a big out up there.
No error on the play. So Turner gets a break. 3-2 count with 1 out. Final in Washington. Cardinals beat the Nats 6-2 behind Jaime Garcia. So the Mets with a win tonight can move into a virtual tie for first place with the Nats. Again, the 3-2. Pulled down to third, might be 2. Right to Walker and on to first. Nice. Double play, side retire.
Oh, that's.
Gunslinger Reed gets his double play. Still 5-1 New York.
Love the way he tips that hat. Nolan Ryan did that. Noli.
The faces, 1986, including a young Ronnie.
Sidney. Oh.
Bobby O.
Oh.
Rick Aguilera.
3 Caballeros.
Dwight Gooden. Roger McDowell. Jesse Orozco.
Pretty good staff.
You guys could pitch. Now time for greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. Now look at those numbers.
Bobby O led our staff in wins that year.
You know, what was funny is that we didn't show any of the other relievers because it really was Jesse or Roger out there almost every night.
Well, J.P. Howell took the mound for the Dodgers to start the inning, but apparently he's got an issue.
I think it's a glove issue that maybe the trainer's going to help him with.
Why would the manager be out there?
Just asking for the umpires to. Or maybe he's taking, you know, sometimes they have the wrong kind of sleeves, or we saw Bryce Harper the other day cut his batting gloves up.
He went up with batting gloves the first 2 or maybe 3 at bats. Didn't get a hit. Took the batting gloves off for the next at bat, hit a home run.
Yeah, he hit it 473 feet.
And then when he got back to the dugout, he cut the batting gloves into shreds. Howell's still working on that glove. It's not been a good year for J.P. Howell so far, and he's still trying to figure out how to get that string right.
What happens is we've seen a lot of pitchers have that string kind of hanging and no one really cares, but the umpires, I guess, brought it to the attention of Dave Roberts, and Mr. Howell went to tie in his strings.
We've seen pitchers with a lot longer strings than that who have not had anything said to them. Kevin Plawecki leads off for the Mets in the home 8th. Plawecki a single and a walk tonight, 1 for 2 after starting the night in an 0 for 17 hole. Plawecki, Campbell in the pitcher's spot for the Mets.
We talked a little bit. There's the string we were talking about. Yeah, that's got to be tied up, or at least part of it cut off.
Nubbed out towards second, and Utley charging. Throws out Plawecki, 1 away. Eric Campbell 0 for 2 and a walk. Jerry's Familia, even though it's a non-save situation, getting ready to pitch the 9th inning. Familia set a record his last time out in Washington. 32nd straight save converted in the regular season. Broke a record that had been held by Billy Wagner.
Well, you asked before if there's a little more heat on in the first 2 games when you're facing Clayton Kershaw in Sunday's game. I wonder if that's a decision made. Familia comes in with a 4-run lead.
Well, you figure you got Syndergaard tomorrow, so you have the advantage going into that game, and maybe you won't need Familia. And then Sunday, well, you're hoping to get the first 2 games of the series before you face Kershaw.
Yeah, the way Kershaw's going, you won't need Familia on Sunday.
Well, you certainly got your work set out for you with Kershaw. It'll be, you go to bed at night, forget about it, come to the ballpark.
Ty Kelly on deck to pinch hit.
And Sunday day game, cup of coffee, got my work cut out for me.
This one's an 8 o'clock game, though. So
it's 8. Well, you can still have coffee.
all day, be a little jumpy by the end, wouldn't you?
There he is. What a pitcher. Texan.
Former offensive lineman for Matthew Stafford in high school.
So he was the center, wasn't he?
Wouldn't mind having him blocking for you. (3-2) coming to Campbell, and he struck him out. So Howell registers the 12th strikeout for Dodger pitching tonight.
Good pitch.
Well, he really has a herky-jerky motion, does Howell, but that's part of his deception.
Now Ty Kelly will look for his first big league hit. Got the start against Steven Strasburg in his major league debut on Tuesday night. That was a little unfair. Went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
It's okay.
And he pulls one just foul. Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night after the post game. Dwight Gooden weighs in on Matt Harvey. 86. Did we mention we're celebrating the 86 team this week?
I think we mentioned that, and being here at 6:15 tomorrow.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jets, Harvard. Again.
I hope. I know it's 3 years off. They'd do the same thing with the '69 Metsies. Can't forget the '69 Metsies.
Well, that'll be the 50th anniversary.
Yes.
You know, a lot of those guys are getting up in years.
So?
No, I'm saying it's really important to celebrate them at every opportunity.
Doggone right. You know, it was terrific in St. Louis. Was in the '70s. We had the Gas House Gang. We had Enos Slaughter was still alive. Terry Moore, Johnny Mize. It was great to see those guys.
The 1934 team.
And the 30. Was it 37? No, it wasn't. The 42 they won.
44.
So Terry Moore was still playing then.
But 34 was the year the Gas House Gang won it. Back to Powell. He locates it. Makes the strong throw. That's as fast a pitch as he threw. The ball thrown to first base.
Talk about laying an egg.
Powell wrestled this one to a draw. I got it.
Oh, jeez. All right, put a 10 over.
Wasn't quite Chad Qualls, but it was pretty cool.
Bring on the Dancing Bears.
All right, guys, Mets looking for their 6th win in their last 7, 3 outs away, and even in a non-save situation, they'll go to Jerry's Familia for the 9th.
Well, just his numbers are fantastic. 4-run lead. Want to get the first game of the series, bring in your best.
Adrian Gonzalez leads off the 9th inning for L.A. He swings at the first pitch down by 4 runs and fouls it off.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
No,
unless your manager says guys go up there and hack.
We saw in the 7th inning 2 Dodgers make first pitch outs against DeGrom, who was battling his pitch count at that point. DeGrom went 7, allowed a run on 3 hits. He stands to get his 4th win. And Gonzalez takes below the knees with a slider, 1-1. Howie Kendrick on deck, then Jock Peterson. for the Dodgers in the ninth. LA came in with a 4-game winning streak, having just swept a series from Cincinnati. Do you believe, Keith, in the theory that for West Coast teams or even for East Coast teams, their first game coming east is always their toughest?
Doug DeCinces, who played for the Orioles and also the Angels, said that the tough game was not coming and playing the first game. It was the next day that was the toughest game, the second game. And I'll explain what he said and what Steinbrenner always did in the Yankees. He told me.
Gonzalez floats one into left field. He's got a base hit. So Adrian Gonzalez with his second hit of the night, leading off in the ninth.
So Doug DeCinces told me that they would come in and they'd play in Yankee Stadium. It was a weekend series, or it didn't matter, even a weekday series. Be a night game, and they were fine, and they'd usually play well. Steinbrenner would always have scheduled a day game the second day. They'd get in, they had the night game, have to get up early, and he said they were just flat as a pancake that game.
So you don't think it goes the same way if that second game is a night game?
I don't know. All I know, it was easy to travel west. You never had a problem going west, right?
Right.
You had always, no matter what, we flew back, even if it was a day game, and we got back at midnight, 1 o'clock, night game, forget it. We get in with rush hour traffic. That first game after the off day, which would be the second day,
right,
was, I don't care what you did, you were flat. It was a tough game.
I always thought that when West Coast teams come to New York, it is the city that never sleeps, and sometimes they test that.
Well, that's true with every visiting team.
Right.
1-1 to Kendrick, and it's taken high, 2-1. I mean, who's more likely to take advantage of New York, the guys coming from LA or the guys coming from Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Kendrick 0 for 3 tonight, and he bounces one slowly. Right has to charge, and he'll let it roll, and it stays fair. And it's an infield hit for Kendrick, and all of a sudden the Dodgers have something working here in the ninth. This is reminiscent of Familia's last outing.
That's right. First two guys got on, Jason Worth and Daniel Murphy. I mean, it's hard to top a ball like that and not have it go foul.
Nothing to do but pick it up and put it in your pocket. So Jock Peterson comes up with 2 men on. Dodgers need one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate. Peterson has struck out twice and flying to right, 0 for 3. Gonzalez at second, Kendrick at first, and nobody out. So the heavy lifting begins for Familia. He responded in D.C. on Wednesday by getting the next 3 hitters.
He's been in trouble a lot this year, where he's had like his engine's not warm. It takes him a little bit of around 10 pitches to get into a rhythm.
In non-save outings this year, the batting average against Familia coming into tonight was .321, but his ERA in those outings 2.84.
Bend and doesn't break kind of deal.
Seems like maybe he has another gear. There's the nasty slider to get ahead on Peterson, 0-2.
Well, when you do look at Familia, you don't look at him as a strikeout pitcher, do you? Even though he gets strikeouts, because of that hard sinker, there is going to be contact. I mean, 2 weakly hit balls by Gonzalez and Kendrick.
He's ahead on Peterson, 0-2, with the Yasiel Puig on deck. Struck him out. Went right back to the slider. Peterson has struck out for the 3rd time tonight. 1 out in the 9th. Wow. Now Puig was 0 for 2 in a walk tonight. Scored the only Dodger run back in the 3rd inning. Puig takes below the knees. 97-mile-an-hour sinker. Ball 1.
In Los Angeles, Familia got him with that sinker down and in against Puig.
Gonzalez at second, Kendrick at first. Dodgers 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight. And Puig goes after that sinker. 1-1. Yasmani Grandal waiting on deck. Toward the hole, a base hit for Puig. Gonzalez will go to third and stop there. And so the Dodgers have loaded the bases on 3 hits, and they'll get the tying run to the plate in the 9th with Grandal coming up.
Slider, Ronnie.
Yeah, through the fastball by him. When you throw the slider, it speeds up the bat. Ground ball, but in the hole.
Good hitters with 2 strikes stay in. Stayed in on that breaking ball.
So trouble finding Familia in a non-save situation. There's some stirring around in the Mets bullpen. Yasmani Grandal coming up. Grandal 1 for 3 tonight. A bloop single back in the 3rd. And Familia tying his shoes and making sure that all is set for an important confrontation.
Pulling a Johnny Franco.
Yeah. Johnny used to do that all the time when he was in a tense moment. Grandal 1 for 5 in his career against Familia. Bases loaded, 1 out. 5-1 New York, 9th inning. And Familia runs 1 inside.
Needs that rollover, a little sinker, rollover, 4-6-3 double play. Campbell guarding the line off Grandal. There you go.
It's off the outside corner, 1-1. Trace Thompson, who beat the Mets with a walk-off home run in LA, standing on deck.
There's the defense right there, as you can see. Campbell guarding that line. He did not do that the other day in Washington. Robbed Rendon of a base hit.
The right-hand hitter up, played well off the line, and Rendon scalded one right to him. 1-1 to Grandal. And Pilecki knocks that one down. 2-1.
It's got to be the split finger that he held on to too long. Gloved by Pilecki.
Hard-working inning for Familia. 3 hits have loaded the bases. 2-1 coming. And Grandal takes a high strike.
Wow, that's a bad call right there in a tough spot. That changes the whole complexion of this at bat. This is above the letters. That is not a strike. Wow.
We've seen a couple of those called by Dan Bellino tonight. This one goes Familia's way, and Dave Roberts none too pleased. Now it's 2-2 to Grandal. And that just missed. Full count.
That's high.
I mean, that last pitch was better than that pitch. And if Bellino had called the last pitch, that whole Dodger dugout would have been on the field.
So maybe evened it up. So now it's 3-2. Tying run at the plate in a 5-1 game. And he walked him to force in a run.
Wow.
So after 3 singles, a walk to Grandal forces in Gonzalez. That makes it 5-2 New York and puts the tying runs on base. And Dan Worthington will pay a visit to Familia.
Is any activity going to be going on out there in that bullpen?
They were moving around during the Grandal at bat, but nobody has begun to loosen up. Trace Thompson is going to come up as a pinch hitter, and Thompson, who has been red hot since he hit a couple of home runs in the series against the Mets in LA, with a chance to do some damage here.
He walked off the Mets with that home run against Robles. You know, when you see a closer that's been perfect, your first thought, not my first thought, but at some point, you're not going to be perfect.
Well, he's not bidding for a save here. He's merely trying to finish the game in a non-save situation. Thompson, whose brother's team kept their season alive. Younger brother of Klay Thompson of the Golden State Warriors. Up in a big spot. 3 for 8 as a pinch hitter. And he takes below the knees for ball 1. Still no action in the Mets bullpen behind Familia. And of course, part of the problem here is you want Familia available tomorrow, next day. And he's having to throw a lot of pitches even if he does survive this inning. One out to Thompson. There's a fastball strike. 98. Now this is the walk-off home run against Robles. Got the bubblegum shower and everything.
Wow.
Thompson has 7 home runs this year, including 1 as a pinch hitter. And he swings through that fastball, 1-2.
That ball tied him up inside. Remember, the home run he hit against Robles was on the outer part.
And of course, Chase Utley is on deck. Bases loaded, 1 out, 5-2 New York, 9th inning. 1-2 to Thompson. Struck him out. High heat from Familia. 2 men down.
Well, that was a good execution by Familia. After he recognized the pitch prior, ate him up inside. He came back with the same exact 2-seamer back in. Good pitch.
Well, it's got to Utley, and you didn't want it to get this far. Because Utley, the veteran hitter with pop, we've seen him do enough damage over the years in a Philly uniform.
And Utley has done well against Familia, 3 for 7 in his career. So it's come down to this. Utley 0 for 1. He's walked twice and hit a sacrifice fly. Struck out his last time up against Blevins. And Utley swings at the first one and lines it into right center. That ball's going all the way to the wall. Kendrick scores. Puig scores. Here comes Grandal trying to score. The relay throw not in time. The Dodgers tie the game. Utley, first pitch swinging, delivers the extra base hit, brings home 3. The Dodgers have scored 4 against Familia in the 9th to get even at 5-5.
Like lightning. First pitch, not wasting any time. Too much plate. Ripped. That little hockey swing of Utley into the gap.
And even with the outfielders playing no doubles, it still found the gap and got to the wall and got the slow-footed Grandal all the way home from first. And now, with the go-ahead run at third, Familia almost throws a wild pitch.
Grandal scores the tying run. Remember, Utley in his last at-bat took that fastball for strike 3 looking. Wasn't waiting around in that at-bat.
So in a non-save situation, Familia has blown a 4-run lead. Seager takes a slider for a strike.
Well, the back runner is the one that's important here. And that is the tying run. The relay's there. Not a strong throw from Walker in. Offline.
Double for Utley, third on the throw. And now Seager grounds one foul, and it's 1-2. So that takes away Jacob deGrom's chance to be a winner tonight. deGrom with 7 terrific innings But Familia, who's been perfect in save opportunities, imperfect tonight.
Well, Utley coming way down the line on third base. If a ball in the dirt gets away from Plawecki at all.
Wright's playing well off the line at third, so Utley can have his way there. 1-2 coming. Seager just got a piece.
Here's the big blow from another angle. Right into the wheelhouse. That's where lefties love it.
On a night where the crowd has given Utley the business, Utley gave the business back.
Yeah, he did.
30th pitch of the inning coming from Familia. And it's inside to Seager, 2-2. Seager, the 8th man up in the inning. Justin Turner would be next. It all started with an opposite field single by Gonzalez. Kendrick with an infield roller for a hit. A 1-out single by Puig loaded him. Grandal walked to force in a run, and then Utley doubled to drive in 3.
Well,
2-2 to Seager. Misses. Full count. Now Robles is up in the bullpen, and Familia may require assistance. Kenley Jansen is up in the Dodger bullpen alongside Pedro Baez. Jansen if they get the lead, Baez if they don't, in all probability. 3-2 coming. Struck him out to end the inning. 3 strikeouts in the inning for Familia, but not before the Dodgers score 4. Utley's 3-run double gets LA even. Now the Mets will try and win it in their final turn at bat. Is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Well, this one appeared to be put away for the Mets. Familia came on in the 9th, could not get the job done. Utley's 3-run double tied the game, and now the Mets will come to bat in the bottom of the 9th. And they'll take on 28-year-old Pedro Baez.
Well, we've seen Chris Hatcher, former catcher, now relief pitcher. Pedro Baez, former infielder that's become a pitcher, throws 95 plus. Control can sometimes be an issue.
And home runs sometimes an issue too. He's given up 4 of them in 21 innings this year. Curtis Granderson 0 for 3 and a walk, 3 strikeouts tonight. Mets have struck out 12 times in 8 innings against Dodger pitching. Baez the 6th LA pitcher of the night. And Granderson first pitch swinging, hoping to end it on one cut. Fouls off the fastball. That's a 1 walk-off win this year. It came last Saturday against Milwaukee on David Wright's bases loaded hit. Dave will be up third here in the ninth. And Granderson hits it in the air, down the right field line, toward the corner, Queen near the pole, and it's out of here! Curtis Granderson wins it with a home run in the bottom of the ninth.
This game crazy.
He didn't win it in one swing, he won it in two swings. It had been a rough night at the plate for Granderson. It had been a rough last few days, 0 for his last 11. But he gets a hold of the fastball from Baez. It's his 9th home run of the year. And the Mets have themselves a victory after letting a 4-run lead get away in the top of the ninth. Mets win it 6-5.
Well, one thing I'll say about Curtis, he's been struggling, but he never gives in. Boy, he gets the barrel out on that one. And this, folks, was a moonshot. This was way up in the air. High fly ball down the right field line.
It's only the second walk-off home run of Granderson's career. The first one came 11 years ago for the Detroit Tigers. And now he hits his first walk-off home run as a Met. And it saves the Mets a victory in a game it appeared they had let get away.
Boy, when a hitter hits the ball down the line like that, you're expecting it at some point to curve foul, and that just stayed straight.
Let's go downstairs to Steve Gelbs, who's standing by with tonight's hero.
Thanks, Gary. 0-1 pitch from Baez. What's your approach in that spot? What are you looking for?
Just trying to get on base. Just trying to help the rest of the guys in the line to get an opportunity to win this game.
Curtis, you had been struggling a little bit here recently. How have you been able to stay so level-headed? You're an old pro, but what have you been dealing with, and how have you been able to get through it here recently?
I got a great team and a bunch of great teammates that have continued to do some amazing things to keep us going, to put us in opportunities to win ball games. Although I haven't been able to do it, a lot of guys on the team have been able to go ahead and keep it going.
Curtis, that could have been a rough loss. What do wins like this do for a team?
Well, it's great, and especially when you have all these fans out here watching. It's big for them to go ahead.
Continue.
It's great to get a chance to go ahead and pick up one like that. You know, Familia's one of the best closers in the game. We love having him out there on the mound. We're confident with him every time he takes the ball. We always want to give him an opportunity to go ahead and close it out for us. We were able to pick him up today.
Second walk-off home run for you. The first one was 11 years ago. Feels like you were overdue?
You know, the throwback days that seem to be happening today. First, we got the 86 Mets that we're celebrating all weekend long, and now I get a chance to do a little flashback with that.
Curtis, congrats. Thanks.
Thank you.
Gary.
Curtis Granderson with a huge smile. Tonight's game summary presented by Jeep. Dodgers score 4 in the ninth to get even, but 2 pitches, and Curtis Granderson able to get the Mets a walk-off victory. The Mets' second walk-off win of the year, and the second walk-off home run of Curtis Granderson's career, as the Mets win it 6-5. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwellhealth.com/KIWH. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $70,000. Time for something to smile about, presented by AT&T Cricket Wireless. Smile about that. Inside fastball from Baez. Granderson turns it around, and the Mets are nothing but smiles. And let the seeds fly. Mets win at 6-5. They're now in first place. We'll be right back.